Hello, my name is Jess and I'm a volunteer at North Harrow Community Library. I love getting me some new books, as you can tell from the amount behind me. They've also got several piles over there off camera just so that my bookshelf looks tidier. But yeah, my favourite thing to do is buying more books from the library, so you might see me in the lobby area because that's where all the books are sold usually. So today I'm going to be recommending to you some books that you should read if you are a teen or young adult, because a lot of these books are kind of directed for that age group. So if you're bored and you need something to read, then this is the video for you. So first up, I've got Are We All Lemmings and Snowflakes by Holly Bourne. This is a book about a girl called Olive who deals with some kind of mental illness after hitting a really bad low. It's a really difficult part of her life, so her parents find this summer camp that you can go to with other people who deal with various mental illnesses, and it's actually from Olive's perspective, so you get a lot of what she's going through as she narrates it, so you can understand why certain things concern her. So she doesn't think she'll be able to stay there for very long. But throughout the book, she kind of gradually makes these connections with people and she opens herself up slowly. It's a very raw, emotional book in some places, but it's also very funny. It's got quite a lot of cursing in it, so I think you have to be older to read it. It's very insightful and well written, and it just had me engaged. And some of the way that Holly Bourne writes some of the chapters is just, in some ways, I haven't seen anyone write like that before. It's educational, but it's not unsympathetic. It's very real. But yeah, it's a very engaging book, and I mean, I completely devoured it in like 2 days because it was that good. I just couldn't put it down. So I think if there's a book like that that you read and you just feel like you need to share it with someone, if there's a book like that, so recommend. Now this next one is a bit of a cheat because I would recommend it to anyone, not even just young adults or teenagers, but this one is Good Omens. Now, you've probably seen or heard of the adaptation on Amazon that was David Tennant and Michael Sheen playing the main characters in this program. It was originally a book by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. It's a story about an angel and a demon who reluctantly join forces to stop the end of the world because the Antichrist has been born. Yeah, it's just got a lot of really quirky humour in it. If you like some supernatural, if you like some unlikely friendships, I mean, it is an angel and a demon. I will say you have to have you need to have a certain kind of humour to appreciate some of these jokes, but I think the central part of this book that I really enjoyed was, and the same with the programme actually, is just the relationship between Aziraphale, the angel, and Crowley, the demon. In other words, this is a book with a lot of very unusual relationships going on. So you got the angel and the demon as friends, you've got the witchfinder and the witch making friends, and of course you've got Adam the Antichrist. He's only like 12 years old, and he's just got his group of school friends that he likes playing games with in the forest. So he's a fairly ordinary child as far as that's concerned, and it's just a really silly, funny story that you can enjoy no matter who you are, I think. Next up, I've got The Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick. You've probably heard of the DVD, which stars Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence. Got it here as well. This was a really good DVD, which, as always, I kind of have a bad habit of accidentally watching the film first and then finding out after that it was a book first. So this is one of those cases where I watched this, loved it, and got the book. So this book I actually got from North Harrow Library. They often sell secondhand books for like 50p, and this is one of the gems that I saw. So it's about a guy called Pat, similar to Are We All Lemmings and Snowflakes? It's from the perspective of someone who deals with some kind of mental illness. It's never made explicit in the book, actually, what Pat deals with, but because it is him kind of narrating it, it's him telling the story, it's really interesting insight into his mind and what he deals with, how he thinks. He's kind of dealing with sort of a fallout in his relationship with his wife, but he also makes friends with Tiffany. She also deals with past trauma and they connect through dancing. And if you haven't seen the film or read the book, then I recommend you do, because both are really good. The book goes on a little bit longer after the story of the film ends, so it kind of covers what happened after the dance competition, and it's all just kind of his story of dealing with his past and moving on to have a more hopeful future. And he's constantly focusing on this idea of there always should be a silver lining. If you like this kind of story, it's just a good story about life and self-improvement and generally just confronting your past, moving on to the future. It's a great book. I highly recommend this. Oh, God. I can't. The next books I have are the Inkheart trilogy. Now, you have no idea how many takes it took for me to pick all three of these up, so I'll put them down now. But anyway, Inkheart. This is another one that I didn't know it was a book until I'd already seen the film. It's basically about a girl called Meggie. Meggie? Yes. Just had to check for a second. About a girl called Meggie who, with her father, they find out that they have this ability to, when they read a written word out loud, it will come alive in the real world. In the series, there is a book called Inkheart, which Mortimer, or Mo, who's Maggie's father, he has to try and find out where this book is, because all copies of the book have been destroyed. Without really spoiling too much, he reads a story to his wife and his daughter when his daughter is still quite young, and characters from the book Inkheart in the story, they come out of it. Since then, there have been these characters from the original Inkheart who've been roaming around. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. It is a really interesting concept. It is a very long book. All of them are very long, but they get really good. I think my favourite from this series, so next is Ink Spell, and then it finishes with Ink Death, which is the most cheery title I've ever heard in my life. Ink Spell was probably my favourite one, and then you get to the end, and the ending was good. I enjoyed the ending. But yeah, all of these books are, oh gosh, verging on from around 500 to 550 to about nearly 700 pages. So there's a good variety, but it is a very big trilogy. Forgot to say again, by Cornelia Funk. So if you have never read this trilogy before and you just like a kind of fantasy adventure, that's the kind of genre I'd put it in. It's also got some magic in there, so yeah, definitely some fantasy adventure. You would enjoy this kind of book. Next, I have the 100 trilogy, which, if I pick out one of these, because I just thought I'd show off all three. This series is by Cass Morgan. You've probably heard of the series that's on the CW or on E4, depending on where you watch it. It's a very good show. I love me some post-apocalyptic dramas, and this is one of those ones. Basically, it takes place, I think, 100 years after a nuclear apocalypse has wasted the Earth, and what remains of humanity is in this space shuttle called the Ark. And there's all these kind of groups of people who live together on this Ark. But the premise of the story focuses around the 100, which is a group of 100 under 18-year-olds criminal delinquents who, because if you're over the age of 18 on the Ark and you've committed a crime, you just get executed, because they don't have the capacity to basically deal with non-law abiding citizens on the Ark. As civilization has grown inside the Ark, gradually resources have been depleted, so they can't house all of these people. So when they find out the Ark might be running out of air, they don't have enough supplies to keep it going for very long. So they send 100 of these young criminals who are too young to be executed, but they're still considered kind of expendable because they've committed a crime. They send them to Earth to see if it's habitable after the apocalypse has wasted it, to see if the atmosphere and everything, if it's safe to live there again, so that they can maybe send the rest of the people on the Ark down to Earth. And the story follows 4 characters in the books anyway, so it follows Clark, Bellamy, Wells, and Glass. If you've seen the show, you'll remember Clark and Bellamy and maybe Wells. Glass is completely unique to the books. Clark, Bellamy, and Wells all get sent to Earth, and I think Glass was meant to go down to Earth, but because she has kind of unfinished business on the Ark, she manages to escape from that dropship. It is definitely a teen drama book series, so if you are a fan of kind of post-apocalyptic teen drama romance stories, but with kind of all the conflicts of what's going on Earth and how they're managing to survive, and they're literally just a group of teenagers, like and they're all criminals, so how will they establish rules in this like kind of new society on Earth? And it's just really interesting, and as the series goes on you kind of have more conflicts develop. So there's Day 21 and then Homecoming, so this is a good series if you are just casually interested in books about the end of the world but also just lots of good character moments and a little bit of drama. But yeah, read the books. Next up, I have The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Hound. Now, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. Now, you're probably looking at this and wondering, why are you recommending to me this book? It's obviously not a normal novel or a storybook. You would be right, it is a illustration book that kind of has a lot of life lessons in it. So Charlie Mackesy is actually an artist, and a lot of the book is mostly illustrations. So if I just open a page on a random example, a lot of the pages look like this. And the idea is that there's this boy, and as he's going through the book, he meets these different characters, first the mole, then the fox, then the horse, and each of these animals, and the boy included, they have this kind of profound life lesson, or they have these nice little sayings and encouragements that they say to each other. And I got this as a Christmas gift, so I fully just sat down and read it in one sitting. This one here says, "Sometimes," said the horse. "Sometimes what?" said the boy. "Sometimes just getting up and carrying on is brave and magnificent." It's very simple. It doesn't have necessarily a narrative going from beginning to end. I think that this is a book that, regardless of your age or your background or anything really, you can enjoy this book and appreciate the art behind it. If you just want something that's a bit different, this is definitely something that you should read. And because it is mostly illustrations, you could just sit down and read it in one go, because it's just addictively positive and very enlightening and just very genuine and sweet, and just I love this book. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please do subscribe. If you'd like to support North Harrow Community Library, you can donate using the link in the information box down below. If you can help us keep our doors open, that would be great. Thank you very much.